tonight. So thank you, worship team. That was awesome. Really appreciate you leading us in worship. So once again, glad that everyone's able to make it this afternoon as we gather together to worship. And it is a Saturday, and there's a special reason for that. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce to you our guest speaker tonight. His name is Tony Tran. He is from Indiana, from a city that you may or may not have heard of, Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I kind of stumbled across a YouTube video that Brother Tony had posted, and it was a video of him sharing his testimony. And so whenever I watched his testimony, I thought, wow, like this is a very great story that God has given Brother Tony, and it would be amazing to allow other people to hear his story. So Brother Tony and I connected just through a phone call, through emailing back and forth, messaging back and forth, and I said, hey, I think it'd be a great idea if you come down. Would you like to? And he said, yeah, surprisingly. So, but for Brother Tony to be here today is no easy feat. He has 3 kids. He's got a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and an almost 2-month-old. All right, so he's got one fresh out of the oven. So his wife and 3 kids are back in Indiana, and so we appreciate him being willing to fly to Texas. This is his first time visiting Texas, but we also appreciate his wife allowing him to come as well. And then not only that, but this past week, Brother Tony has had a family situation, family emergency. A family member of his has had some health issues, had to go into the hospital. And so even up until Thursday, Brother Tony flew in Friday, but even up until Thursday, it was like, hey, are you sure you're going to be able to make it, Tony? Like, are you okay? I know you've got your family situation. Are you at peace? And Brother Tony, feel like the Lord has led him here and allowed him to be here. So he's here today. So without further ado, Brother Tony, I will hand over the mic to you so you can share your story with us. All right, let's give him a Texas welcome.
All right, Texas, how we doing? All right, so first and foremost, I just want to give thanks to God. Without him, I wouldn't be here today to share my personal testimony with you guys, how I came to Jesus Christ, the King of all kings, right? And I want to thank you, Brother Dan, for the invitation, and also you guys for coming out tonight. We're all going through the COVID-19 and everything, so I'm just very happy to be here, and thank you all. So let's get started. My name is Tony, and I was born into a Buddhist family. My family and I, we came here to the United States in '92 when I was about 10 years old, and we didn't know anybody. So in Vietnam at the time, there's 2 major religions, Buddhism and Catholic. Well, during that 10 years when I was in Vietnam, no one really shared about Jesus to me. I never really had a conversation about Jesus Christ. Sure, I know about Christmas, hearing about Chúa Giêsu, right? But to have a proper conversation about Jesus, that never happened. So when I came here, the very first time that I heard about Christ is actually from a boy that go to my bus stop. We became friends very quickly. We spent a lot of time together. And so one day, I remember we were just sitting and having a conversation, and he asked me if I know who Jesus is. And I said, no. And then he said, do you want to know who Jesus is? I said, sure, you can tell me about it. So he told me a little bit about Jesus and how Jesus came 2,000 plus years ago to die for our sins. At the time, the story was nice and everything, but I wasn't interested because I was a Buddhist, you know. It just passed down from generation to generation, and I didn't really have time to get to know another God. So then the more we talked, he finally invited me to church. Again, I have no interest in going to church at the time. I didn't want to go, but you know, he was my friend, and he started to convince me and say, hey, you know, I mean, just go to church with me one time. You know, find out, you know, what church is about. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of great food, nice people. So I thought about it, and out of respect, I decided to go to church. So let me tell you my very first day at church, my first experience. Right when we walked in the door, a lot of people came and shook our hand. And I didn't really know what church was going to be like, you know, because I was in middle school then, and I'd never been in church, let alone like in the U.S. So that was my absolutely very first time experience. And then as they shook our hand, you know, I felt welcome. And then as we make our way around the church, I remember there was this elderly couple that came up, and not only did they shook my hand, but they also gave me a hug. So I felt that was very warm and welcoming. So I was like, okay, I can do with this. Growing up, I never give hugs. I love my family dearly. We love each other a lot, but we just don't give each other hugs. We just don't roll that way. But, you know, I didn't mind getting a hug at all. So I felt the genuine there, right? I felt the welcome. And that was, at that time, was the key factor that brought me back to church. Because I didn't go to church for Jesus. I went to church to hang out with my friends. They had a beautiful basketball court back then, so I was going to go there and play ball with my friend, meet other people. So that was my intention. So the more I attended church, the more I wanted to come back. After, you know, just sitting there, I remember the first couple times when the pastor was preaching, I had no interest. My mind was on the food, or when is this going to be over so I can go play ball, right? But the more I listened to it, a lot of the story that the preacher was preaching out of the Bible sounded really cool, like Samson, King David. So then I started to take interest, and I asked myself, if these are real stories, if these events actually took place 2,000 plus years ago, and this actually happened, that's pretty awesome, right? So as time goes by, my friend and I, we had another conversation. I asked him one day, how do you even know if God or Jesus is real? I know you have the Bible to back it up, but I want proof. Then he asked me, he looked at me, and then he thought for a second, then he asked me, can you see the wind? I said, no. And then he said, you can't see it, but can you feel the effect of it? At this point, that's what he explained to me at the time. And then he said, well, the majority of the time, God works like that. You won't see him physically, but you can feel him and know that he's there. And that made me think a little bit, but not too much. Because, why? I can use the same argument with Buddha and present the same information, right? But still, it still turned the wheel in my head, and it made me think with his logic. And then, as times go by, we had another conversation. We talk a lot. We talk a lot about God. Well, he talked a lot about God to me. I never talk about Buddha to him, you know, like I never imposed that. Until this day, I still tease him about it, you know. So then, he also shared that, our next conversation, he shared that, did you know that Jesus is the only way to God, to heaven? Like, he's actually that bridge No other God. And at that time, we were best friends because we've been hanging out quite a while now, right? So he came over to my house a lot and vice versa. And with this statement, I got offended, right? He said that only Jesus is the way to God. To me at that time, that's outrageous, very outrageous, such a bold statement, and I thought it was pretty disrespectful because he knew that I was a Buddhist, and basically what he's saying is basically my God is basically, can't be compared to Jesus, basically. So I know that at the time, even as a little boy, there's so many religion out there, right? We got Buddhism, we got Muslim, all kind of other religion, right? And even till this day, I don't even know all of them. So for him to make such outrageous statement, I felt it was pretty bad. Like, he didn't respect me as a friend, and he kept talking about God. While I never talk about Buddha to him, really. Like, I just let him know, like, I'm a Buddhist, and I left that alone. So I didn't tell him this, but I wanted to prove my friend wrong at that time. So I took it personal because I didn't like or agree with what he said with such bold statement. And I also warned him. I said, hey, man, if you're going to come over to my house, hang out with my parents, and we're feeding you food, at least be respectful. And don't make that statement ever in my house because I know my parent would get very upset. And then I would have to hear from them afterwards. And I didn't want to deal with that. You know how Asian parents are, right? You guys know that. Oh, you don't? Okay. So I decided to put an end to all this. And I was on a mission to prove him wrong. I didn't know how I was going to do it at the time. But I was willing to find a way. I was determined in my head, like, I got to prove this guy wrong because that is a crazy statement, and I'm going to save him from embarrassing himself, right? So I was willing to find a way. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I was determined. So he said that, then he told me that, listen, why don't you just give God a chance? Just give Jesus a chance. He's a living God. You can talk to him like you're talking to me right now, and he's listening. So, another conversation. So I just sat there, I listened, I nod my head, whatever, So fast forward a couple months. At that time, I was struggling a little bit with life. There was some difficulty in my life that I was going through. And I've been praying to Buddha, but I didn't really see any difference. So I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to give this Jesus guy a try, I want to put the living God to the test. Let's find out, Not only from the Bible, but if you claim that God is a living God, and I can talk to him like I'm talking to you right now, why not put it to the test? So one night I decided, so I get on my knees, right? And of course I didn't tell anybody about this. I just did this in my room secretly, pretending that Jesus was in front of me because he said that he is. All I got to do is just talk to him. So then I said, Jesus, if you are real, if you're a real God, please show me something in the supernatural realm that only I would know that it has to come from you. That it has to come from you. And if you show me, I would definitely have to believe and follow you. But right now, I just can't throw everything away, what I was taught for 10 years, 10 plus years that time, and follow you, because I don't know you. I can't just throw Buddha away. I need a sign. And I left it at that. And it was a very quiet night. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. I didn't dream about Jesus that night. I didn't feel anything different in my life. But I have to admit one thing, though. When I did that, I was kind of excited because in my mind, I was thinking, okay, so if Jesus is real, now I can have two God. I would get more protection. And if he is not, I can really get back at my friend for making such outrageous statement about Jesus. So at the time, of course, I didn't know nothing about the Bible, right? I went to church, I was sitting, I was sleeping, I was, my mind daydreaming, right? Preacher was preaching, but I wasn't listening, right? So I know nothing about the Bible. That's why I thought the more God that I invite into my life, the more protection, more luck, right? Even in the Asian culture, like even my mom and my dad, and I'm always questioning, they wear a Buddha's necklace, but like sometimes they even put on like 2 or 3 Buddha necklaces. I'm like, for what? But hey, they think that's, hey, that's more. More is good, right? Nothing wrong with more. So I prayed that night, and then I left it alone. And then fast forward a couple months later, I remember one night I was just laying in bed, watching TV, winding down. It's a long night. It's about 7, 8 o'clock p.m. And I had my door open, and my parents' room was next door, and their door was open. And we, just turning on TV, just watching, relaxing. And all of a sudden, my whole body became completely paralyzed. Like, I couldn't even move an inch. Like, imagine all the fiber in your body completely froze, paralyzed. The only thing that was working at the time, after it happened, was my mind. That was the only thing that was working. Like, I couldn't even blink my eye, right? I tried. And then my body became completely paralyzed, and out of the corner of the room, there's a dark shadow, right? It's not a figure, it's a shadow, it's like a cloud, but it's not like a human figure or anything. Suddenly appear, and then it just jumped on me. And then I continue to be paralyzed. I scream. I said, help me, help me. I scream as loud as I can at that time. But nothing came out. Like, I couldn't even hear my own scream, right? But I know I was screaming. It was terrifying because the atmosphere, when that happened, the atmosphere completely changed. In my heart at the time, like this never happened before, never felt the demonic presence. Like the atmosphere just completely changed. Like, when you walk into a place and just something didn't feel right, your hair would stand up. Well, time that by 1,000, right? The atmosphere completely changed, and my body was completely paralyzed. I screamed out. I didn't hear anything. I couldn't move. And for some reason, I screamed out in my mind, Jesus, help me. Jesus, help me. Help me. And then immediately, boom, the attack stopped. I was able to move again. So it was terrifying. And after the demonic attack, I know that I wasn't dreaming because I was awake the whole time. It wasn't like when you had a bad nightmare and you woke up, you snap out of it, and you're like, whew, yeah, that was a bad one, but I'm good now. No, it wasn't like that. I was awake the whole time. That was the problem. I was awake the whole time. It wasn't a nightmare. So, and then fast forward a couple months, after that, I was terrified, but I tried to forget about it because it was the very first time that happened to me. And I was praying, don't let this happen to me again, because I didn't know what to make of it, I never experienced this before. And for some reason, I don't know why, that I screamed out Jesus and not Buddha. Even to this day, I still don't know why at the time. But my body told me to scream out to Jesus, so I did. And the hardest thing was I couldn't tell anybody. And that was really messing with me at the time. So then I started to do some little bit of research, and I questioned myself, and I know that at the time I was very healthy. I wasn't on drugs, right? I went through a little bit of stress, what teenager doesn't, but it wasn't that high level of stress where it caused that. And I read a couple articles on stress and how, it could possibly happen to people. Even though I read it, but to me, it didn't sit well because I know it was more than stress. Like, that was abnormal. So there was a lot of things that I didn't know at the time. I had a lot of questions. But one thing that I do know is that when the demon attacked me, it brought a piece of hell with it because the atmosphere completely changed. It don't matter if you have 10,000 lights in that room. The atmosphere will still change, and it's terrifying. So a couple months later, it happened again. Exact experience. It happened when I was laying in my bed, and I was hopeless during the attack. Like, I couldn't do anything. Like, I couldn't flex my muscle or anything. It's like my whole body, every fiber in my body completely paralyzed. And same thing, out of that corner, a black shadow appeared. And immediately when it appeared, atmospheres changed. Jumped on me. I couldn't do anything. All I can do is scream out the name of Jesus in my mind. Jesus, help me, help me. And then the attack immediately stopped. Fast forward a couple months later, nothing changed. Happened again. And I'm starting now to be more scared because I'm seeing a pattern now. Like, it's coming back, it's not stopping, and it's always at nighttime on my bed. Like, when I'm taking a shower or doing other things in the kitchen, cooking or something, or even driving, right? Nothing happened, which is thank God, because if that would have happened, then I wouldn't be here talking to you guys right now. So it always happened in my bed when I'm laying down around like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So at that time, I dreaded going to bed. Like, as soon as the sun goes down, fear start to arise, and I didn't tell anybody. I kept it to myself because I didn't want my family to worry, and I know that my family is Buddhist, so best case scenario, what do? They'll probably ask me to go to the temple. Let's pray for you, You're going crazy right now, so we're going to ask Buddha to bless you and things like that. And yeah, like, I wasn't going to have none of that. So so I kept it to myself. And some night, I even lay there. It was real torment. Like, I'm laying there and I'm expecting the shadow to form again, But you can't expect something like that. And I did it for days, for months. And every time I try to expect it to come, it doesn't come, It's like it knows or something. It just attacked me when the minute I let my guard down, But you can't keep your guard up 24/7. That's just unreal. You can't do that. So a couple months later, it happened again. And this time, something out of the ordinary happened. Same thing though. I was laying on my bed watching TV, and now I was so scared. I got the Bible right next to me. I got the lights on. I even go to bed with the Bible like on top of my chest. And trust me, that doesn't help. It happened again, but this time, so as soon as the shadow appeared, right, I cried out, Jesus, help me, help me. Instead of it immediately stopped this time, out of the other side, corner of my eye, I can see a very bright light starting to form. And this light was a billion times, I gotta say a billion times, brighter than the sun. How do I know that? I don't. My body just told me that it was. Okay, so I believe that's God just letting me know. And then suddenly that light start to come closer to me, and then suddenly it changed, transformed into a cross. And then the attack immediately stopped. And then I was able to shake myself, so I woke out of it. I was like, wow, what just happened? Like, I was still terrified, trust me, because when that happened, after the attack, normally, I would be sweating. I was laying in bed and just like pale. Like, if you would have walked in the room and see me right after my attack, you said, that guy got to see a ghost, or he just been through something, But I was able to shook out of it fairly quickly that time. And I sat up and I said, wow, did Jesus just appear in the form of the cross for me? That was very special. Now, my Bible knowledge at that time was still very limited. I didn't read the Bible that much. Like I had it on my chest. I read a little bit and pieces, but I didn't know too much. But I did know that Jesus was on the cross 2,000 plus years ago, died for my sin. So that was amazing. That was amazing what God showed me. I was still living in extreme fear. But this time, I realized they can't kill me because this happened too many times. I'm still breathing, okay? I was terrified. I was walking in fear. Sometimes even, in my house, when people at nighttime shutting off the light, like I sneak and turn the light back on wherever I'm at, Like that's how afraid I was, But this time, I realized they can't kill me. And Jesus came to my rescue every time. So in a sense, that gave me some peace, some confidence. But still knowing that the fact that it kept coming back, the spirit of fear got me at the time. So let me give you an example of the fear that I was going through. I'm terrified of heights. So if you would have put me in front of a cliff, right, or pushed me off an airplane, even though I have a parachute on, I would still be very fearful, right? Now, you take that fear. Imagine your worst fear, whatever your worst fear is right now, snake, spider, whatever it is. You time that by 1,000,000. That's how afraid I was when the attack happened. Because not only the fact that I couldn't move, but like I said, the atmosphere changed. And I've never been to hell before, but I felt like the demons brought a piece of hell with them. Like the atmosphere completely changed. It changed your body, right? So tremendous fear. So that kind of fear compared to what I went through with my experience, the fear of fearing the height would be pale in comparison to the attack that I experienced. So of course I want to put a stop to this, but who do I tell? Finally, I was desperate. But I didn't want to let people know. So I called up my other friend at the time. God will put people in your life. Whatever you're going through, trust him. He will put people in your life to guide you. So I called my other friend. We had a very good relationship. And I said, hey, there's something I need to tell you. Can I take you out to lunch? So then we went out to lunch, and I basically spilled the beans. I told him everything. I said, hey, I don't care if you think I'm crazy, okay? But you're my friend, so you got to know this. The truth is the truth. Whether, the truth is the truth, so I'm going to tell you. So I told him everything. And then he looked at me, he asked me, well, did you do anything different? At the time, I said, no, not really. Everything's still the same. And then the thought came to my head, well, I kind of talked to Jesus recently. And he said, what are you talking to Jesus about? I said, well, I didn't tell anybody this, but I kind of ask him to show me something that only I would know that it came from him. And then he sat back. He crossed his hand like this. He said, okay, so you asked to see the supernatural, okay? And before he said anything, that just hit me like a brick right there, right? So I asked for it, but I forgot about it. I didn't pay attention. So now, looking back, I know God will allow certain things to happen, right, in the spiritual realm to show you, to teach you, right? So I was like, wow. So I think I got the answer that I wanted, but, man, I did not bargain for that. Yes, I asked to see something supernatural, but I want to see, like, take me to heaven. Like, give me a trip to heaven. That would be very pleasant, right? I want to see some, hear some nice music, see some angels, come back, testify, go to my church, tell them about that. No, I didn't bargain for this type of attack. What's going on? So that was really scary. So let's put that on hold for a second. So during this confusing time in my life, on top of this, I discovered that my sister was involved in witchcraft. One night, chilling at my friend's house, and I got a phone call from my family. And they say, they was my brother, said, hey, Tony, where you at? I'm over at my friend's house right now, hanging out. And he said, you get your butt home right now, right away. We need you. I said, oh, what's going on? Is everything okay? And he said, well, sister's acting up bad. You got to get home. We need your help. I said, okay, I'm on my way. So I took off from my friend, right? And I said, hey, I got to go. This friend right here that I was hanging out with wasn't really Christian, so I didn't really tell him about it. I just said, hey, I got to go. I'll be back later. So as I'm driving, I'm speeding, right? Like I'm going home. And then suddenly I remember my friend. So I pick up the phone. I call my friend. I say, hey, I just got a call from my family. My sister, they said that she's going crazy. I don't know what's going on, but can you come over and help out? He said, yeah. You want me to call pastor? I said, yeah, call, please, the more the better. So then he called his pastor, and then I said, okay, just come over, ASAP. I'm heading there right now. So I got back home, and the moment I walked into my house, everybody was there. My sister was in the middle, and all my family member was there by the time I got there. My brothers got his friends over. My dad was in the corner praying to a Buddha statue. He was lighting up incense and praying. And my brother's friend, what I discovered at the time was Muslim, because they had their Quran book, and they were opening it up and citing it, right? And as soon as I walked in, I came up to my sister, trying to see what's going on. And she looked at me, and I back up. I freaked out a little bit because, she looked really mean at the time. For some reason in my heart, I know that it just wasn't her. And she said, get out of here. Get him out of here. I don't want him here. I was like, all right, so I back up a little bit. And during this time, my dad, like I said, was praying. My brother's friend, Muslim friends, over here citing the Quran. And my sister was being really angry. She was cussing and telling that she want to fight anybody, right? She want to fight anybody, and she want to just run out in the street. I have a feeling at the time, she didn't tell me, but more like a suicidal attempt, right? And it was crazy. And then the crazy thing is, now I didn't catch this at the time, but looking back, while they were praying for her, she said, keep on praying. Pray louder. I want to hear it. So looking back, I'm like, why would a demon want to hear more of a prayer? You know what I mean? To me, that makes no sense. It should have ran the opposite way, but she wanted them to pray more. So, and then she still was crazy, right? And she had super strength at the time. I remember family member, everybody trying to hold her down. You know, her son was there, grab her, making sure like she didn't hurt herself or hurt other people. And then she suddenly said, there's somebody that's coming. I don't want them there. Now, at the time, I didn't know, you know what I mean? But looking back, and I'll tell you why. She said, there's people coming. I don't want them in here. Right after she said that, 10 seconds later, I hear the bell ring. So I hurry up, ran to the door, because I was desperate. I was scared. I walked in there, and the demonic presence, it kind of like reliving my experience with my attack, you know? But I mean, not to that degree, but the hair on my back still stood up. It was just demonic. So I ran to the door, and I saw my friend. I was so happy. I was so relieved. Saw a friend, pastor was coming, and I hurry up and let him in. And pastor walked up and, you know, talked to my family, talked to my dad, and he was very respectful. He asked my dad first. He said, sir, is it okay if I talk to your daughter, help her out? And my dad at the time, he wasn't a believer. You know, seeing my sister conditioned like that, he said, yeah, go ahead, you know. And the family was, of course, be like, yeah, please help her. Now, she had acted up like this before, and we thought it was like stress, you know, but it wasn't like this particular night. It was like crazy, violent, and aggressive, right? So then he came over, and he put his hand on her, and then he shut down the demons, right? How do I know he shut down the demon? He commanded in Jesus' name. So even though we don't know. So let's say if you don't believe anything and you walk in a room and you see like that, you know, she's telling this person to keep praying and, you know, getting loud and everything. And then he walked in and he silenced the demon in Jesus' name. We don't see it. In the physical realm, we don't see it. But in the spiritual realm, that's power and authority that the demons have to obey, have to bow down to that name of Jesus Christ. So then he shut the demon up. He said, I want to talk to her. You be quiet in Jesus' name. And they talked to her for a little bit, I remember. And then he cast the demon out, right, in Jesus' name. And then when my sister came back to her sense a little bit, he asked her, he said, would you like to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? And at this time, everybody was around her. You know, we were listening very intently, everything he's doing. And my sister, she was kind of out of it, but she was able to understand his question. So she said, yes. And a miracle happened. I will never forget this to the day I die. Never in a million years. This is another Jesus miracle. Right when she said yes, she was laying on the floor. Her back was on the floor. No one helped her. We were just around her. Pastor was just, you know, holding her hand gently on her back. She sat up on her own right after she said yes to the Lord. She took off. She went like this. And she took off her Buddha necklace, which has been on her like forever, right? That thing ever come off. That's her good luck charms. That's her protector. No one told her to do so. Not even the pastor. She got up, took the necklace, took the Buddha necklace off her neck without saying anything and just handed it to the pastor like this. Pastor took the necklace and gave it to my family. So that was amazing. That was amazing because, you know, when they put on that necklace, it's not coming off. Okay, I can't speak that for all Asian, but I know my family in particular, once they put on that necklace, it's game over. It stay on until the day you die. You buried that in the grave with them, right? And so after that was another proof. Until this day, after my sister accepted Christ, she never had an attack like that ever again till this day. So after all this craziness, right, my life didn't get any better. I still had my own personal issue that I was dealing with. The attack continued. But during this time, I got into the words. And after what I had gone through, one thing I know for sure was that I wanted God to be my protector. I wanted him for sure now, without a doubt, after seeing everything, not only myself, but my sister, and the way the power and authority in the living God, Jesus Christ, just came down and smashed everything, every demonic being, just like that. I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. But guess what? That's not the end of it. Even after that, I still got attacked. So I was thinking, what on earth? What's going on? I cried out, I cried out to Jesus, and I said, I accepted you. I'm reading your words. I dropped Buddha like a hot potato. I don't want nothing to do with Buddha no more, because I saw there was no power in it while my dad was praying. Because if it is, then he wouldn't need my pastor to be there, or, my friend's pastor to be there. And at the time, I thought I was a dedicated follower. Just because I read the Bible, I thought I was a dedicated follower at the time. So why is this thing still happening to me? It don't make sense, right? If I have Jesus, if I have God, the Holy Spirit dwells in me, shouldn't demons be running away from me? Why is the attack still happening? Make no sense. So what am I really missing? So the more I got into the Word, God started to reveal things to me. God showed me that the attack continued to happen is because I was still living a worldly lifestyle. That's the key. Remember that. Worldly lifestyle. Even if you have Christ. Even if you have Christ. I was still living a worldly lifestyle. A sinful lifestyle. Not putting God first. Not really fully committed to him. Yes, I accepted him, but it was just only for my protection, and then a lot of time I just put him in the back burner, not really think too much of it. So God showed me that I have to pick up the cross daily, every day. That's what the Bible said. Daily, not weekly, not monthly, not yearly, daily. I have to want to serve him wholeheartedly. I have to give Jesus my 100%. And not 99%. That's not good enough. The good thing is, God will work with you where you are right now. He will work with you. He will give you strength and help you through your struggle. But the key is you got to make up your mind. You got to make up your mind, and you got to give it all to him. You got to give 100% to him and not 99%. So let me give you an example. For those of you that are familiar with the game of poker. Let's say you got 100 chips in front of you. When you say all in, what does all in mean? You got to put all of that in the pot, in the middle of the table, all of it. You can't even keep one chips behind. God wants the same. He wants you to all in. And that's why you either going to be hot or you're going to be cold. God, listen, this is going to hurt a lot of you guys' feeling. And maybe convict, right? But I'm not saying this. This is scripture. Look it up. He will spit lukewarm out of his mouth. So in a way, being lukewarm is worse than being cold. Because why? Now that you know about God, but you're lukewarm, that's on you. That's not on God anymore. Right? So when the Father make that statement, he will spit you out of his mouth, spit lukewarm out of his mouth. That's a bold statement. So imagine if your parents say that to you. That's like disowning you. Think about that. I understand no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. We all struggling with sin. But if you are struggling with sin right now, I encourage you to take care of it because it will not go away on its own. Don't say, I'll do it later. Why? Because is later promised to you? Ask yourself that. Tomorrow is not promised to anybody. So when you sin, here's the important thing. When you sin, even if you have Jesus, when you sin, you give demons legal rights to be in that particular area of your life. The legal rights to torment you, to take control of that area in your life. So think about this. When you sin, what do you think is actually happening in the spiritual realm? Very important to examine our life and our walk with God, brothers and sisters. That's why you have to give it all to Jesus today and not tomorrow. Because life can be taken away from you just like that. So when I repented of my sin and fully committed to God, study his word, and not only read it, but study it. And more importantly, after you study it, what do? Apply it to your life. If you read the whole Bible, front to back, and you don't apply it, what good is it to you? Right? You're just wasting your time reading the whole Bible for nothing if you're not applying it to your life. If we learn something, if we know how to do something, but we don't do it, what good are you compared to a person that don't know how to do it? You guys are both in the same category. Right? So let's talk a little bit now. Let's talk about a little bit more spiritual warfare. I personally believe that as soon as a person comes to Christ, you have stirred up the hornet's net. You're poking at it now. You're poking at it because why? The truth sets you free. The hornet's nest has always been there. The devil has always been there for years, even before us, right? Created the angel, Lucifer. You guys know the story. But now, when you stir it up by coming into the light, you were once in darkness, the devil owns you. So in a sense, there's no need for him to really mess with you. Just like I was telling you my story. Before that, I had Buddha. He didn't really need to mess with me. But now you come into the light, the table has turned. Now you got his attention. So he's very well aware of who you are, each of you, in the spiritual realm. So why does Satan need to attack us when we come to commit ourselves to the truth? The enemy attacks you because you are a child of God, and he hates God's property. And because you are the light of the world and he's the prince of darkness, you are a major, major threat to his kingdom, to Satan. Because what you say, what you speak has power. You're a child of God. You're not just anybody. You're a child of the Most High King. God made you in his image. Think about that. So you see, this happened to me. As soon as I draw closer to God, the attack happened. And then I discovered that the word of God is the most powerful weapon against the enemy. Understand this, on our own, our wisdom, eloquence, intelligence means absolutely nothing against the devil. This is spiritual warfare, guys. 2 Corinthians 10:4 state that the weapon of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God for pulling down of strongholds. So this confirmed that carnal weapons cannot fight spiritual warfare. On our own, we cannot win this battle. The enemy is ruthless and relentless. He will attack you day and night, physically and emotionally. The devil comes to do what? Steal, kill, and destroy. The Bible speaks of this. So what does the Bible say about spiritual warfare? For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the ruler, against the authority, against the cosmic power over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of the evil in the heavenly places in Ephesians. Some people ignore the spiritual realm because they can't see it. But just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. So understand this, there will never come a time in your life where the enemy decides to leave you completely alone. So in a sense, it doesn't matter if you want to get your hand dirty or not, if you want to ignore the devil or not. That's not happening. Because why? The devil exists. It's in the Bible. If he doesn't, God wouldn't put him in there. So you're in a battle right now. You're in a battlefield. So you can turn your back like this and continue to get attacked, or you can engage properly in spiritual warfare. Examine this. Satan himself came and tempted Jesus in the wilderness while Jesus was praying. And each temptation was combated with the words, "It is written." So as I have mentioned earlier, the words of the living God is the most powerful weapon. The enemy can attack you in many different areas, physically, emotionally, throwing darts at your mind, okay? Attacking our thoughts, tempting us to sin against God. So this is why the mind is a very powerful place in our body. When the devil put thoughts in your mind and you enter those thoughts, you're messing around with fire. The Bible tells us to take every thought captive. That means that you have a chance to do something about all your thoughts that are not well-pleasing to God before they enter your heart and become a part of you. Now, how many of you have daydreams before about something that might, that is not pleasing to the Lord, but you entertain those thoughts anyway? What do you think you're doing? What do you think when you do that? Think about this now. Next time when you do that, I don't encourage you to, but if you're going to do it, think about what's happening in the spiritual realm. Who are you actually entertaining at the time? So you have to guard your mind. You got to take every thought captive, right? Because a thought is very powerful. We think before we act. So that's why Jesus said, if you even lust at a woman just by thinking of her, you are already committing. And if you hate your brother so much, that's already you committing the sin. It's murder, right? So your thought, God is going to judge you on your thought as well. So I've talked to many people and I have discovered one of Satan's ruthless weapon that has brought many to their knees is using fear to control them. And that's what happened to me. So if Satan can somehow get into your mind and control you with fear, then he can control you. So I was being tormented by the spirit of fear. Then I discovered God did not give us the spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. Let's examine fear. Let's talk about fear for a second. Fear is an indication that you don't trust God. Fear is an indication that you don't trust God, right? Because why? Fear and trust does not go together. You won't find fear in a trustful heart, and you won't find a trustful heart that operates in fear. Brothers and sisters, what you need to do is bind the spirit of fear in Jesus' name. Cast it out in Jesus' name. If you are struggling with fear right now, like I did at one point in time, do not ignore it, because deep down inside you know that fear will not just go away. Fear sucks the life out of you, the peace, right? It's like a dark cloud hovering over you. And a lot of people, when they operate in fear, in the spirit of fear, they can't move forward. Because why? They're too afraid to take that step. God calls us to be faithful, not fearful. So instead of allowing the spirit of fear to overtake you, you know that there's nothing more assuring to know that God is with us. Victory is assured in those who trust the Lord. So when we make a decision to follow God, we have to be bold. We have to take courage and also be bold and engage in spiritual warfare at a certain time, because the enemy can sense weakness and fear. Be strong in the Lord and know who you are in Christ. So I want to take a minute and talk about being boldness. Remember the three Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Because of their faith and boldness, they got thrown into the fire furnace. You guys know that about the story, right? Because of their faith and boldness, not only did God deliver them in that fire, but he was seen in that fire with them. Let me say that again. Not only did God deliver them in that fire, but he was seen in that fire with them. He doesn't just deliver you out of those situations. He entered those situations with you. But you got to let him. You got to trust him. And let's not forget about Daniel. What about Daniel? Because of his faith, what did God do? Shut the mouth of the hungry, starving lions. King David, you guys all know about the story, right? You gotta be crazy to fight a giant if you don't have faith in God and the boldness to do so. So at the end of the day, trust in God. Pray, and pray some more. You can choose to live in victory or defeat with God. Trials can only end in triumphs. Trial can only build endurance and character. Trials can only bring you close to God, to fully trust him and that he will be there for you and carry you through the storm. So place your trust in the Lord. If God is for us, who can be against us? It said that in Romans 8:31. Do not be fearful, be faithful. So let us fight the good fight as the Apostle Paul encouraged to do so. So based on my testimony, you guys, I want to share with you guys that point out that the spiritual realm is very real. And just because you have Jesus doesn't mean that the devil will leave you alone. And just because you have Jesus, that's even make you a bigger target. Because if you don't have Jesus, the devil don't need to mess with you. You already his. When you die, what do you think will happen? He don't need to waste his time. But he does focus on the believer because his goal ultimately is to push you away from God. So, if you're struggling right now with sin or whatever you're going through right now and you don't have God in your life, I encourage you to take a chance. Ask Jesus to come into your life. Repent of your sin. And if you already are a follower and you struggle with sin in a certain department, repent. Repent. Take a stand and do your best. Because God will be there with you. You just have to trust him. See, no one is perfect, and I know that. But when you have God and you still sinning, you're giving demons legal rights to torment you in that area. Whether it is a physical attack like I experienced, you may not experience that, but they can attack you in different areas, like addiction, depression, right? He'll use whatever he can to push you away from God. So I invite you to invite Jesus in your life today. And that's my testimony. I want to thank you again, everybody come out today, and most of all, thank you, Jesus, because without him, I would have been dead right now. I wouldn't be here, throughout my life. I have so many miracles. I can stand on here, and it'll probably be like 3 or 4 hours long. I feel like Jesus performed a miracle in my life, like weekly, honestly, if not daily. So, but just to give you a sum of my testimony and my encouragement to you, to take Jesus, to take God serious. Because a lot of time, people only focus on one side of God, okay? How loving he is, how forgiving he is. Yes, but what about the other side? He's a jealous God, isn't he? And he's a just God. So when somebody's just, what do you think they're doing? They got to be just. They still got to judge you, hold you accountable, right? We want to serve a just God, right? So we got to act accordingly. So again, brother and sister, thank you for having me here. And, even though this is my testimony that I shared to you guys, the real author of it is Jesus Christ. I'm just a mouthpiece. So hopefully Jesus will use my testimony to touch, reach, and heal people. Thank you again for having me here.